The book of Genesis introduces us to Cain, the firstborn son of Adam and Eve, whose story takes a dark turn, forever etching his name in history as the first murderer. What drove Cain to commit such a heinous act against his own brother? Was it a consequence of his own flawed nature, or were there darker forces at play? The Serpent Seed Theory posits that the serpent who tempted Eve was a malevolent entity capable of physical procreation, resulting in the birth of Cain. This interpretation transforms Cain from a flawed human into a hybrid being, a living embodiment of the serpent's evil nature. The Serpent Seed Theory has been met with considerable controversy, often viewed as a revelation by fringe Christian groups, but rejected by mainstream Christianity. Critics argue it distorts the biblical text and lacks historical support, emphasizing the dangers of interpreting Scripture outside its context. Despite its controversial nature, the theory continues to provoke discussion about the nature of humanity, sin, and the origins of evil. Central to the serpent's seed theory is Genesis 3:15, where God curses the serpent, declaring enmity between the serpent's offspring and the woman's. Proponents argue this verse establishes a primordial conflict between the seed of the serpent, represented by Cain, and the seed of the woman. Proponents of the serpent seed theory highlight the wording of Genesis 4:1, noting the omission of Adam's name as Cain's father. They argue this hints at a different paternity, suggesting Cain's father is the serpent, not Adam. Proponents point to Cain's character and actions as evidence of his serpentine lineage, drawing parallels between the serpent's deception and Cain's murder of Abel. They argue Cain's curse is a confirmation of his inherent evil nature inherited from the serpent. Proponents interpret the mark God placed on Cain as a physical manifestation of his separation from God and his connection to the serpent. However, this interpretation relies heavily on speculation and goes beyond what the biblical text explicitly states. The serpent seed theory casts Cain's act of fratricide as a preordained act of violence rooted in his serpentine nature. The killing of Abel becomes a symbolic strike against God, a rejection of the divine order. This act sets in motion a chain of events that reverberate throughout history. Cain's curse condemns him to a life of wandering and toil, reflecting the inherent restlessness of the serpent. The theory suggests Cain's descendants inherit this restlessness, becoming agents of change and upheaval. Cain's response to the curse, "My punishment is more than I can bear," is seen as defiance and self-preservation. The serpent seed theory casts Cain as a progenitor of discord, his lineage spreading rebellion and corruption. Cain's descendants become the builders of cities and inventors of weapons, manifesting their corrupted nature. The theory portrays Cain's descendants as pioneers of human advancement and agents of spiritual corruption. Their accomplishments are seen as evidence of a growing separation from God. The rise of cities is viewed as both a testament to human ingenuity and a breeding ground for spiritual corruption. The theory links the development of organized religion and idolatry to the influence of Cain's lineage. The serpent's seed theory ultimately presents a sobering perspective on human history, suggesting that the world as we know it has been profoundly shaped by the legacy of Cain and the serpent's corrupting influence. It paints a picture of a world adrift from grace, where human progress is often achieved at the expense of spiritual integrity. and where the pursuit of power and pleasure often overshadows the pursuit of righteousness. The theory's proponents often point to the pervasiveness of sin, the prevalence of violence, and the seemingly endless cycle of conflict throughout history as evidence of this ongoing struggle between the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. They argue that the mark of Cain, though invisible to the human eye, can be seen in the darkest chapters of human history, in acts of genocide, oppression, and the exploitation of the weak by the strong. The theory, while controversial and often unsettling, serves as a stark reminder of the enduring power of sin and the constant need for vigilance against the forces of darkness. It challenges us to examine the motivations behind human endeavors, to question the true cost of progress, and to consider the possibility that even our greatest achievements can be tainted by the legacy of a fallen world. The Serpent Seed Theory faced strong opposition from the early church fathers, who regarded it as a dangerous heresy. These theologians saw the theory as a distortion of Scripture and a threat to the faith. Their refutations shaped the Church's stance for centuries. Irenaeus, a 2nd century bishop, was a vocal critic. He argued the theory undermined free will and absolved humanity of responsibility. Tertullian echoed Irenaeus's condemnation, viewing it as Gnostic dualism. He argued it contradicted the biblical understanding of God as the sole creator. While largely suppressed within mainstream Christianity, the Serpent Seed Theory found fertile ground in certain mystical and esoteric traditions that flourished during the Middle Ages. These groups, often operating on the fringes of orthodox belief, were drawn to the theory's allegorical interpretations of Scripture and its emphasis on a hidden, esoteric knowledge accessible only to initiates. They saw in the theory a deeper understanding of the nature of good and evil, the role of sexuality and spiritual corruption, and the ongoing cosmic struggle between opposing forces. One such group was the Cathars, a dualistic Christian sect that emerged in southern France in the 11th century. The Cathars believed in two eternal principles, one good and one evil, locked in a perpetual struggle for dominance. They saw the material world, including the human body, as the creation of the evil principle, while the spiritual realm was the domain of the good. The Serpent Seed Theory resonated with their dualistic worldview, providing a framework for understanding the origin and pervasiveness of evil in the world. Another medieval tradition that embraced elements of the Serpent Seed Theory was Kabbalah, a Jewish mystical tradition that emerged in 12th century Europe. Kabbalistic interpretations of the Genesis narrative often viewed the serpent as a symbol of the evil inclination, or Yetzer Hara, present within human nature. While not explicitly endorsing the idea of a physical lineage from the serpent, Kabbalistic texts explored the concept of a spiritual transmission of impurity stemming from the serpent's interaction with Eve. This spiritual transmission, they argued, corrupted the human soul and introduced a state of imbalance into the world. In the modern era, the Serpent Seed Theory has largely remained relegated to the fringes of Christian thought, embraced primarily by certain fundamentalist groups and proponents of racial supremacy. These groups often use the theory to justify racist ideologies, claiming that certain racial or ethnic groups are descended from Cain and therefore inherently inferior or cursed. Such interpretations, widely condemned as hateful and unfounded, distort the biblical narrative and have been used to justify slavery, segregation, and other forms of discrimination. However, despite its association with extremist views, the Serpent Seed Theory has also attracted the attention of some contemporary scholars interested in exploring the historical development of biblical interpretation and the enduring power of certain myths and legends. These scholars, while not necessarily endorsing the theory's validity, recognize its significance in shaping religious beliefs and cultural attitudes throughout history. Recent scholarship has focused on contextualizing the serpent seed theory within its historical and cultural milieu, examining the social, political and religious factors that contributed to its emergence and persistence. Some scholars have explored the theory's connection to ancient Near Eastern mythology, noting parallels between the Genesis narrative and other creation myths that feature serpents or dragons as agents of chaos. Others have examined the theory's role in shaping Christian attitudes towards sexuality, women and the body, arguing that it contributed to a negative view of these aspects of human experience. While the serpent's seed theory remains a fringe belief, its enduring presence in various forms throughout history serves as a reminder of the enduring power of myth and the human tendency to seek explanations for the origins of good and evil. The serpent's seed theory, despite its controversial nature, remains a captivating enigma. It serves as a testament to the power of biblical narratives to inspire diverse interpretations and fuel theological debates. Whether viewed as heretical or revelatory, it compels us to confront fundamental questions about good and evil. The theory's appeal lies in its simple explanation for human behavior and suffering. It provides a framework for understanding the origins of evil through a primordial act of transgression. The serpent seed theory, while lacking widespread acceptance, highlights the enduring human fascination with faith's mysteries. Beyond the theological debates and scriptural analyses, the story of Cain, intertwined with the provocative claims of the serpent seed theory, offers a timeless mirror reflecting the complexities and contradictions inherent in the human experience. Cain, both victim and perpetrator, serves as an archetype of the fallen human, wrestling with the consequences of his choices and the enduring legacy of sin. His story, regardless of one's stance on the serpent seed theory, speaks to the universal themes of temptation, betrayal, guilt, and the enduring struggle for redemption. Cain's act of fratricide, whether viewed as a consequence of his own flawed nature or the influence of a sinister lineage, stands as a stark reminder of the destructive power of envy, rage, and the human capacity for violence. His subsequent curse, a life of wandering and alienation, speaks to the enduring consequences of sin and the profound psychological and spiritual toll it takes on the human soul. Yet, even in Cain's story, there are glimmers of hope, moments that point to the possibility of redemption and the transformative power of grace. Cain's legacy, much like the serpent seed theory itself, continues to challenge and intrigue us, prompting introspection and self-reflection. It invites us to confront the darker aspects of our own nature, to acknowledge the potential for both good and evil that resides within us all. Cain's story, woven into the fabric of human history, serves as a timeless cautionary tale, reminding us of the fragility of peace, the importance of choosing love over hate, and the enduring need for forgiveness and reconciliation in a world often torn apart by conflict.